All right, hello folks. So I haven't done a video in a while, and I certainly haven't done one of the survival mode puzzle rushes in a while. So I've got an hour or so free. Let's see what we can do. Here we go. So if anyone hasn't seen these before, you have very easy puzzles to start with, and they get harder and harder and harder, and 3 lives. When you lose the 3 lives, you are done. The global leaderboard for today, Nihal Sarin with 65 is top grandmaster. No other master players yet. I don't know why. Maybe it's quite early in the day for chess.com. I don't know. Oh no, that was the hourly one. I was being silly. Sorry, here's the daily one. He's still top with 65, but there's loads of master players. Nobody higher than 65 though. Most of it's in the 50s, so I don't know if that means it's a difficult one today. Let's see how we get on. All right, so the puzzles get progressively easier. This one's obviously pretty straightforward. We've got a rook there. The queen's going to take it, and it will just be checkmate. So queen takes rook. There's no way for the king to escape this attack. And this one's very similar. It's just going to be queen here attacking the king, and this line of pawns stops the king escaping. So it's called back rank mate, nice and easy. Similar here, we're going to put the rook here. It'll be check. The only move will be to put the knight in the way, but then rook takes knight will be winning. So here, here. So it starts very, very easy and then gets harder. Now, this is a classic pattern, this one. What you see here is the queen lined up to the king, which means this pawn cannot move or potentially cannot move to these 2 squares. And so knight here is check. There's no escape square for the king because he's surrounded completely by his own troops. And of course, the pawn won't be able to capture. It'll be pinned because of the queen. So this is the move. Checkmate, because check, and the pawn can't capture the knight because the queen takes king. Queen on e2 takes king on e8. Another back rank mate. There'll be loads of these in the early stages of the puzzle. So it's check along the line, and the 3 pawns block the king. Now, this one is going to be a 2 move, mate. We've got a knight pointing at this pawn and a rook pointing at this pawn. And that should be a clue. So rook takes pawn. Now, the king couldn't go to this square because of the knight, couldn't go to this square because of the rook, couldn't take the rook because it was protected by the knight. So king has to go here. And now rook here is check. And this rook guards the escape squares. So that will be mate. Well, it will be mate after rook takes rook. Okay, fine. Now, this pattern comes up quite a bit. We're going to create a back rank checkmate. So the rook attacks here, the queen attacks here. If we play queen takes pawn, it will be check. The king cannot capture on this square because the rook will be protecting. So it'll have to go to the corner. We'll then play queen here check. The rook will have to capture, and the black rook will take, and it will be mate. So let's see that in action. So check, the king has to go to the corner. Check, rook must take, and now rook takes king. So anyone who hasn't seen these before, it might look like I'm a bit of a genius here, but I promise once we get to around the 20 mark, it won't be so easy. This is another back rank mate. We've got quite a few of these today. Queen's going to go here, and then the 2 rooks will just get in the way to delay the inevitable, but now it's checkmate. And this one is very similar to the pattern we did a couple of minutes ago. Queen takes here, forces the king to the corner. Queen, rook takes, mate. So let's see that. Check, here, and here. This is just a simple 1 move checkmate. I mean, it's the knight protects that square and that square. So all we have to do is put the queen here, and it's just checkmate. It's a very easy puzzle. Okay, here's an interesting one. This bishop guards the potential escape square for the king. And so if we attack along this line with something, it's mate. And so rook here is mate. The rook attacks the king, and the bishop is guarding the G1 square, so there's no escape. Checkmate. This one by now, you should recognize the pattern. So let's just do it. Checkmate. And so sooner or later, it'll start to get a lot harder. Now, this one, I'm not immediately seeing the answer. Or am I? Is it queen here check? Yes, it is. Okay, so it's queen here check. Now, this bishop and queen are both slicing slicing across the white squares there, that diagonal. Now, I think if we, if we play queen here, check, black has some problems, because if the king goes to here, we can play queen takes queen. The king can't go to these two squares because of the bishop. And if the pawn gets in the way, then queen takes here will become check, and in fact mate, because the bishop guards these squares and the queen will guard this one. So this is the move here, check. And now queen takes queen, and that's the end of the puzzle, because you've won a queen, you're a queen up. What are we doing here? Okay, this isn't immediately obvious. I mean, there's obviously moves, don't get me wrong, but I'm not quite sure what the winning one is. I mean, pawn takes bishop, yeah, is possibly right. Pawn takes bishop, queen here, check, king moves, probably is okay, actually. It's probably okay. But am I missing something that's actually winning on the spot? The rook checks, no good, because bishop takes. The queen takes, no good, because bishop takes. Pawn takes bishop. If queen takes, then we can promote and get a queen. I think it's got to be this. I hope I'm not getting this wrong. I probably should go a bit slower than this, but I don't see what else it can be. There's no checks that are any good. We can't attack the queen. No, it's got to be right. Yeah, it was right. Okay, just doubting myself. I'm a bit out of practice. This looks, I don't know. So the rook's attacked our queen. We're obviously going to have to move the queen. We can't, oh, hang on, it's bishop here. So bishop here attacks the king and the queen at once. So black will be in, white will be in check. If the pawn gets in the way, you then play queen takes rook, king takes, and then bishop takes queen, and we've won a rook. That must be correct. I think that's got to be right. I think it's going to be here. Yeah, and in fact, queen takes queen instead, because white knew that they were in trouble and then just takes. Okay, cool. This is a really cool puzzle. Okay, so the bishop pointing across to here is quite important, and the rook pointing across to here is really important. So what we're going to do is play knight check. The king has to go back to the A1 square because there's nowhere else. It couldn't have gone here or here because of the rook, remember? And now this bishop is pinning this pawn. It can't move because the bishop would take the king. It'd be illegal. And that means we can play rook here, which is check. And the only way that white can escape the mate is to put the queen in the way, like so. And now rook takes queen. In fact, hold on a minute. Is knight there check better? No, rook takes queen, and the knight protects the rook, and we've just won a queen. So, okay, cool. This one's quite straightforward. The rook is attacking the bishop, but at the minute the king's defending it. So if we can make the king move away, then we're going to be winning. And what we're going to do is play bishop here, check. The king will have to move, and then rook takes bishop will be mate. So check, the king has to move. All right, that just delays it by one move. And now we have rook takes bishop and mate. Right, this is just a move order issue, isn't it? We have to, because if you play knight takes rook, then queen takes rook, and the knight's no longer protecting it, so that's no good. But if we play queen takes, then we have x-ray defense. Well, actually, we've still got the knight defending, and the knight will be defending here. Yeah, so queen takes rook must be right. Yeah, okay, and then knight takes, fine. This is going to have to be, I want to play queen here. The king must go there, but then I can't quite work out how we're finishing the job. I'm very rusty at this as well. I have to say, I'm very, very rusty. Queen here, queen to this square, does force the king back there. So queen to here forces the king back, but there's no checkmate. Oh, yes, there is, because the bishop will be pinning this pawn. Okay, so it is the here. And now after queen takes pawn check, pawn can't capture the queen because of the bishop pin. So we can actually go here, and that would have won. Yeah, that wins because the king would have gone there and it would have been checkmate. Okay, fine. If you're not quite sure what I'm talking about there, just rewind the vid. This is to do with these weak white squares. I think we're just going to play rook here, check. The king will have to go across because that square is protected by the pawn. And then bishop here is just murderous. So here, 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 and that's checkmate. The bishop is attacking the king and the rook's guarding the escape squares. Okay. Right, this one's just a question of whether we're going to put the rook here or the queen here. I think I'm inclined to do it with the rook, because then if the king goes here, we can move the queen to give check, and then there and there and there. Yep, that works. And if the king goes there straight away, then we'll be able to play queen here. And yeah, so it's rook here. And then check. And okay, it didn't make us finish it off, but that would have been made pretty quickly. This one's going to be rook takes rook. Then after bishop takes, queen here. Well, actually, I was going to say queen there because that will win the bishop. But in fact, forget queen there. We could probably play queen here, check, and pick up this. No, we can't pick up this rook. It's protected. I'm being an idiot. So I was right first time. Takes, queen here, check, is attacking the king and the bishop has to give itself up. Fine. Okay. Right. This has got to be a distraction. So the king is protecting the rook. The king is attacking the rook. We just need to get this king away from the rook and then we'll be able to win it. So I think it's, oh, hang on. There, takes. Yeah, I think this is here. Okay, he's gone there and now it's just check here and we pick up the rook. Yeah, okay, cool. You can see they're starting to get slightly harder now because although it's still only 1300 and my puzzle rating's 2600, so they're not hard, but just need a little bit of thought. Now, we've got this again. This pawn is pinned by the bishop because of the king. So actually we can just play rook here, check, and it's mate because the rook attacks the king. The other rook guards the whole of the H file and the bishop is pinning the pawn. So that's the end of that. This knight is pinned to the queen by the bishop. And what I think that means is we can simply play queen takes bishop and win a piece. Yeah, bishop takes. And okay. Well, there's no other move but there. And anyway, that's the end of the puzzle. Fine. This is going to be, this is a mate pattern. If we play pawn here, check, king goes to the corner, then rook there's mate. And if the king goes here, then I think rook here is threatening mate and can't be stopped anyway. So this is here and here. And the threat of the rook coming across is just unstoppable. And there's checkmate. This feels like there should be a checkmate, but I can't quite see it. Oh, hold on. Check. And it's not a checkmate. It's knight here, which attacks the king and the rook. It's a knight fork. And we just win a rook. Okay, cool. Oh, okay. So why are we not just playing rook takes queen here? Isn't that? Oh, because, well, okay, because, yeah, okay, our own queen is under threat. So, but if we play queen takes rook, okay, then queen takes rook, and maybe that's no good. Okay, so this needs a bit of thought. I'm obviously being a bit silly. Ugh. What am I overlooking here? What am I overlooking here? If it's rook takes queen. Oh, hold on a minute. Right, rook takes queen. Rook takes queen. So I'd have a rook here. Can I just play rook takes pawn then? Because if king takes rook, we promote. And if the king doesn't, we do that and just promote next move anyway. Right, I think this is going to be here. Yeah, and then I think we can play rook takes pawn. Yeah, we can. And now rook here. And yeah, so the king would have had to have moved and then we'd have got our queen back. Okay, fine. This is one of these again. Yeah, so this pawn's not doing that. It's guarding this square. So we can force the king to the corner a bit like we did earlier. So check, check, and rook is attacking. The pawn is guarding g2, so that's mate. I mean, presumably this is just here. King moves, knight takes, king there, king there, king there, king there, king there. Yeah, it is this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and then we'd have won because of what's called the opposition. Okay, fine. Do we just pin the knight here? If we just play bishop here, the knight can't move. Look, it's pinned to the king. And if white tries to protect it with a move like that, we can just attack it again. So this is here. And we just attack the pin piece again. And yeah, we just win. Okay, cool. We're just a bishop up. Good. Okay, 31. Okay. So the knight is attacking our queen. So obviously we've got to do something. It's also protecting this square. This is now a horrible threat. So whatever we do here, it better be quick. Queen there takes. Man, this is tricky. This is tricky. What am I missing here? Is it just queen here? Threatening to come across to this square, because look, the knights have got these three guarded and this one, so I reckon it's queen here, and then if the rook checks, we just put the bishop in the way and white's run out of checks. I think this is here. Yeah, bishop in the way to block the check, rook takes, and yeah, there would have been nothing that white could have done about that horrible threat. Okay, fine. I want to play here because the king, with this rook guarding all of these squares, the king would have to go here. And then after king takes pawn, I don't see a way to stop the ladder mate. So I think that's right. I think we go here, here, and yeah, this is just checkmate. So it's check from the rook, and the rook on g1 stops the king escaping. Cool. Okay, so this is going to be queen here, check. Now the king cannot go to any of these squares, so the only way to escape is to put the bishop in the way. And then knight here is check. The bishop will be pinned. If the king goes to this square, then queen here is mate. If the king goes to this square, then queen here is mate. Yeah, so this is fine. So it's check, check. The bishop can't take the knight because the queen takes king, and then mate. Okay. This is to do with the dark squares. It's just bishop here, check. I don't really know why this is such a high rating puzzle, to be honest, because we can just keep doing this. Yeah, I was going to say that was just silly. Okay. So we've got to give some thought to this pawn, because if it gets here, we are going to lose. And we don't really want to lose. Now, how are we going to stop that pawn promoting? If we go here and the pawn moves forward, we can then go here with check and drop the knight back to stop the pawn promoting because we're guarding that square. So I think that's probably right. Oh, it wasn't. Okay, so I've messed up. I rushed that. That was stupid. That was too quick. That's yeah, that's the sign of someone who's not done this for a while, and I shouldn't have done that. Okay, now this one, I think I can play queen here because pawn takes is no good because it's pinned. And from there, it's protecting this square and this square. So there's no checks, and I don't see how black stops queen takes pawn. So I think that's there. Oh, the queen has to sacrifice his queen. Yeah, okay, so that's good. Right, this is a good one. So it's check. The king must go to the corner. Queen takes rook, rook takes queen, and rook takes rook. And because the knight's protecting there, it'll be mate. Okay, so it's here, here, and now rook here is mate. The knight and the rook work together to guard all the checkmate squares. Is this just going to be? This is just going to be a rook sack, isn't it? Rook takes pawn, pawn takes, rook takes is check. There's very little in the way of escape squares, and he'll probably end up putting his queen in the way. So this is just here. Yeah, it's got to be. Yeah, queen in the way. Presumably, we're just going to play rook takes here. Oh, there's one more move. Well, it's there, and then there, and that would have been mate. Next move here. Okay, cool. This one is, again, we've got this pattern of the bishop pinning the pawn, look, so we can just play queen takes, and then that's checkmate. This is going to be rook takes pawn, rook takes, king must go there or there. In either case, rook here is then going to be mate. So it's here, here, don't take with the queen, and then that's mate. This is just a back rank mate pattern. This is, I think, is it? Am I being silly here? Maybe it's not. Hold on. Queen here. If the rook goes back, we can play rook. Oh, no, that's not quite going to do it. No, there's a bit more to it than that. There's a bit more to it than that. I really wanted to play queen here, but if the rook goes back, it doesn't actually quite work, does it? Because the two rooks will X-ray defend each other. So this has got just slightly more to it than I thought. What if we play rook takes pawn here? Because then we're threatening rook takes. Oh, yeah, okay, hold on. If bishop takes queen, rook takes is winning. And I don't know, it's some combination of those moves, isn't it? I feel like I want to play maybe rook takes pawn. So rook takes pawn, bishop takes queen. Sorry, rook takes the pawn. If bishop takes queen, then rook takes rook. Rook goes back, rook takes his mate. And he can't play rook takes rook because then queen here will just lead to mate. If he goes with the other rook, then that's it. I think this is here. Oh, it wasn't. Oh, I've missed something. Told you, I'm too rusty. I'm just too rusty. Still, having said that, 40 is not the worst score in the universe when I haven't done this for a while. This is, well, it's not quite queen takes knight, is it? Because there's an escape. Oh, well, maybe it is queen takes knight. Queen takes, rook takes is forced. Knight takes check. King here, knight takes queen. Yeah, it probably is. So yeah, check. Pick up the queen. Yeah, okay, fine. Let's see. What are we doing here? What's wrong with rook takes knight? Right, what's the material? The material's level. If rook takes knight, aren't we just winning a piece? Why is rook takes knight a bad move? It just means we're a piece up. That might mean there's just something better, but surely rook takes knight is just winning. 5 pawns each, bishop against knight, but we're about to take the knight. 2 rooks, queen and queen. This is just here. It's not. Oh, well, okay, whatever. It doesn't matter. All right, we'll have a quick look at what ones we got wrong. So what was this one? Oh, I had the right idea, but of course I should have played knight takes pawn. And now it's knight check and the king moves and knight here and you can take. Oh, well, that's just me being dopey. Right, okay, pause quickly while I get the next puzzle. This one, right, so it wasn't rook takes pawn. Maybe it is queen here. It was queen there. Well, what? Oh, perhaps it just wants to play queen takes rook and just win 2 rooks for a queen, I suppose. Or is it bishop takes rook? And then rook here. Oh, and I guess that the threat of this is just too much to handle. Then what do we do now? You can't just discover check with the bishop because queen takes rook. So maybe we're supposed to do that. Yeah. And now we can do something horrible with the bishop, probably here, and play bishop takes. Yeah, and then you've got 2 rooks and a bishop against the queen. Well, okay, fair enough. All right. Quick pause. Let's get the next. Okay, and this one I got, didn't I? It was there. Oh, it wasn't there. No, okay, I'm being a muppet. Okay, so why isn't it just rook takes knight? What's so different? What are we supposed to do that changes it? So we can't go here with check. Go check here, but what's the point? What's the difference? I don't see the difference. Is it here? No, I don't get this one. I don't see why you can't just play rook takes knight. What am I missing about rook takes knight? I don't see, I don't get this one. I honestly don't get this one. I mean, are we supposed to play the rook here and just go for this pawn? Maybe that's the answer. Let's try that. Oh, it is. Oh, okay. And now it must be queen takes queen and then rook takes knight. Okay. All right. So right ideas, wrong combination. Well, I am very rusty. I haven't done this for a while. So, okay, fair enough. And I was doing it pretty quickly, actually. I didn't really take as much time as I usually would. So 41, let's see. Did I get anywhere? Well, that's not bad, is it? On the hourly leaderboard, we're 8th. And actually, we've just seen that I really should have got those 3. I was just saying, being a bit rusty, being a bit quick. So, okay, we'll leave it at that. And hopefully it won't be long before I do another one of these. And yeah, hope you enjoyed that. See you next time.